championship for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour runs through the Martinsville Speedway in Virginia. Justin Bonsignore comes in with the championship lead and the momentum of 2 straight victories coming into the final race. But Ronnie Silk is a defending champion. He's already got 2 championships. He wants another tonight, but he's got his work cut out for him. Then there's a third contender. Patrick Emmerling is a bit of a long shot coming in, but he still has title hopes. Tonight, it's Bonsignore and it's Ronnie Silk, both dueling for the championship with Patrick Emmerling in the mix. And it's next, right here on Flow Racing, the fight for the Whelen Modified Tour Championship. Hello everyone and welcome inside the historic Martinsville Speedway. I'm Joe Koss alongside Andy Austin for the championship race here at this iconic half-mile facility that has been rooted in the fabric of modified tradition for many years. You go back nearly 40 years ago, 1985, the first year of the Whelen Modified Tour Series, and the champion was crowned here. Andy Austin, tonight we're going to crown another champion, and it comes down to 3 competitors.
One of our top competitors, Justin Bonsignore, is really all about momentum in the last 7 days. Picked up a statement win at North Wilkesboro Speedway on Sunday and set fast time here tonight. He's picked up the last 2 wins. If momentum is anything, it's on the 51 side, but you cannot count out Ron Silk, who's ultra smooth. And then there's the Hail Mary situation of Patrick Emmerling tonight.
Earlier today, Ron Silk, the Justin Bonsignore car won the pole position, but last week at North Wilkesboro, it changed a lot of things.
You don't see this very often. Justin Bonsignore lapping Ron Silk, who came in with a 5-point advantage, and then Bonsignore with a statement win under the checkered flag. Huge. And Bonsignore tying Reggie Ruggiero with 44 wins all time on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour.
Moves into the championship lead. The advantage goes to Justin Bonsignore. As I mentioned, won the Mayhew Tools pole earlier in the day today. The other side of the coin, Ron Silk did not qualify as well as he had hoped today. He will start back in the 13th position. Let's take a look at how these drivers stack up here at Martinsville. Clocking in at Martinsville, the grandfather clock on the line tonight. Ron Silk has more starts than the championship 3 of Justin Bonsignore, Patrick Emmerling, but Justin Bonsignore has a clear advantage. He's finished second twice, third once. The only reason why he has an average finish of 9, it's because he had 1 DNF, but Justin Bonsignore has been very good at this racetrack over the years.
52 laps led to Patrick Emmerling's 47. Ronnie Silk with 33. Again, he'll start 13th tonight. That's the deepest he has started in the field all season. And as far as NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour 2024, the deepest anyone has started in the field was in 8th, and that happened twice this year. So you need to start to the front if you're going to continue the tradition of what we've seen this year. And right now, the road through the championship goes through Bonsignore.
And he's already got that 1 bonus point for winning the pole. Being out in front, if he can get 1 more by a lap led on the opening circuit from the pole position, that'll put him in a good spot. If he can do that, he only has to finish 7th or better, regardless of what Ron Silk or Patrick Emmerling does, and that would make him the 2024 NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour champion. The cars are gridded here along the front straightaway. Let's take a look at some of the facts here of Martinsville Speedway. This racetrack has so much history here in NASCAR. Ridgeway, Virginia, opened back in 1947.
And it's just over a half-mile long. Surface is asphalt, but you'll notice in the corners it's concrete. It's the only NASCAR track that has concrete in the corners that is an oval.
Driver introductions just about wrapping up here as the drivers make their way across the stage here at Martinsville. In the field tonight, 2 Cup Series winners in the form of both Bobby Labonte and Ryan Newman. They have both won here in the NASCAR Cup Series in competition at Martinsville Speedway tonight. They'll be running for the Whelen Modified Tour grandfather clock, and that's their hope here this evening, to be able to stand there at that checkered flag across the start-finish line and support a win in the Whelen Modified Tour.
And you think back to when Ryan Newman picked up that win in 2012 in the Cup Series. It was a controversial race. It was the race that swung Clint Boyer out, and Jeff Gordon was spinning, and then Ryan Newman dives down on the inside. So lots of drama here on the paperclip, which it was nicknamed years ago. Bobby Labonte has gone to victory lane, not only in a Cup car, but in 2005 he was a Craftsman Truck Series winner as well. People camping out here tonight. It is an amazing night to be out as a race fan in Martinsville, Virginia.
Driver introductions are complete here at Martinsville Speedway for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Let's hear from some of the contenders. Let's go down trackside to Jesse Punch.
Justin Bonsignor starting on the pole tonight, chasing his 4th series title. Justin, I know you were actively getting ready to get in the race car, so I won't take too much of your time. But in chasing that title, you're also chasing a Martinsville clock, which I know you don't have and very much want. So where is that line there between pushing for the clock, but also playing it safe and earning that title?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough thing to balance. But obviously we got track position. Hopefully I can have good, smooth pit stops and just keep it up front all night and stay out of trouble. And if that's the case, we'll have a shot to contend for the win. But if we get in traffic and have to be smart and in points race a little bit, we will do what we have to do to hopefully bring home a 4th championship.
Well, best of luck tonight, Justin.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Have fun, guys.
Justin Bonsignor, as mentioned, starting on the pole. That's his 4th pole of the season. It's worth noting that with that 4th pole, he earned the most this year, which earns him a little extra money. There's an end-of-the-year bonus for the most poles. So if he can lock in a championship tonight, he's going to be walking away with some pretty full pockets.
Thank you, Jesse. I imagine you're going to be very busy this evening here at Martinsville as we cover all the stories of the championship contenders between Justin Bonsignor, Ron Silk, and Patrick Emmerling. Now, Andy Austin, as we heard him talk about the desire around winning that grandfather clock, I wonder if he has figured out a place where he can put it at home.
Well, it's funny how we talked to these guys on pit road before the race, and we got into a conversation with Justin about the championship, and then suddenly that turned into the grandfather clock, which has nothing to do with the championship. And as Jesse said in her pit report, the balance between winning the race and winning the championship, is the trophy on the mind of the drivers? The answer is a resounding yes, because Justin has already picked out a place in his house for the grandfather clock, and that would be when you walk right in the door, but that's if he gets his way.
He wants everybody to see it as he enters his home on Long Island. There you see the 7 New York. Terrific qualifying run for Luke Baldwin as he jumps inside that car here again. His 3rd start in the Whelen Modified Tour. First here, though, in the 7 New York, the family car. And this is a driver that puts it on the front row, went to the very end of qualifying before Justin Bonsignor knocked him off that top position for the Mayhew Tool Pole Award. And he's going to be a fun driver to watch tonight.
What an amazing 7 days he has had. He picked up the Smart Championship on Saturday night at North Wilkesboro Speedway, jumped in the 7 New York on Sunday, had an amazing run at North Wilkesboro Speedway. At the age of 18, you can see him putting on the safety equipment now, suiting up, ready to go in the shop every single day, too, slaving on this race car and working through his passion with his dad. And it's amazing and not surprising to see the 7 New York back on the front row.
And the Tiger on the front of that hood, Tiger Tom Baldwin, the 7 New York, so iconic in modified racing. The Baldwin name continues on now behind the wheel in open wheel competition under the NASCAR banner. So much history, so much tradition that has run through this particular racetrack. Earlier today, we had the opportunity to catch up with Jerry Cook, NASCAR Hall of Famer. He has 7 grandfather clocks, and they are scattered all around. At one point in time, he said, we had them all in the same room, and they were all going off at the same time, and they couldn't get them in sync, so they had to start handing them out to friends and putting them in other places.
That sounds like a horror show, to be in a room with 7 grandfather clocks. At any other part of or any other facet of life, that would be a nightmare. However, it's Martinsville. It's the Martinsville grandfather clock, and it's good to be one of Jerry Cook's friends. Just, and he so casually said it. Oh, yeah, I gave it to her. He got a grandfather clock. It was almost like Oprah. You get a one. You get this. And he was just dishing them out. But, to your point, Joe, and the tradition of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, NASCAR's oldest division, bringing some of the legendary paint schemes, the legendary teams, and competitors. And just as, I wouldn't say a full circle moment, but how about the moment we're talking with Jerry Cook, one of the all-time greats, NASCAR Hall of Famer, one of the first 15 in there. And then Bobby Labonte walks by and says, hey, I have one of those shirts too. And they're talking about the Hall of Fame shirt. So that's the company we're in here this evening for the Virginia is for Racing Lovers 300.
The best of the best here today. Hey, let's take a look back at earlier in the day today where Justin Bonsignor made one extra step toward a championship bid. This was his qualifying lap that put him on the pole, the time of 18.872 around this half-mile Martinsville Speedway. But the important part of this, Andy, is that the bonus point he earned by earning the pole position, he came in knowing if I finish 5th or better, I'm the champion. This lap right here now makes it a little easier. He's now 6th or better, regardless of whatever anybody else does. He becomes a champion.
And amazing, a first lap of this race. You're going to have to really watch and pay attention as Luke Baldwin. I'm not sure who's giving who tips on this case, but actually, this is earlier this afternoon when Luke and Justin were talking back and forth on the front row. But if he leads the first lap of the race, that is another bonus point. So then all of a sudden it becomes, no matter what Ronnie Silk does, Justin just has to finish 7th to claim his 4th championship. And what a week this would be, where he tied Reggie Ruggiero for second on the all-time list.
Let's go trackside for the command.
It's the moment you've all been waiting for, to deliver the most famous words in motorsports. Please welcome from the Martinsville Henry County Economic Development Corporation, Director of Tourism and Talent Development, Sarah Hodges.
Drivers, start your engine!
Look at the focus in the eyes of Justin Bonsignor, who within the matter of an hour and change, maybe longer depending how many yellows we hit tonight, could find himself amongst amazing company, grabbing another championship, as Mike Stefanik still leads the all-time championship list with 7, Tony Hirschman with 5, but to be in the company of winning the 4th championship. We talked a lot about Justin, but you can never count out Ronnie Silk. He starts the deepest that he's started in the entire year. So starting from 13th is going to be a tall order. Again, he has to be all in tonight. And it's going to be interesting to see him come from the inside. That's one advantage that he might have, is actually starting on the inside for these rows.
Patrick Emmerling, the one car on screen, you see the black, blue, and orange number 1 on top of that roof. He'll start in the 10th position today. That's a machine that, he could have good runs here. He led laps last year, but in practice earlier today, at the very end, the engine expired. The crew had to go to a backup. They went out there in qualifying with no laps on that engine and were able to lay down a top 10 qualifying lap. We'll see if that car is good in race trim as they get going. He has he needs luck. He needs something to happen to Bonsignor. He needs something to happen to Ron Silk, and to have it happen early if he wants a shot at the championship today. Certainly everything favoring Justin Bonsignor at this point. Silk with an opportunity, but he's really got to go out here, win the race, and hope that Justin Bonsignor doesn't have a great night at Martinsville.
One thing about Justin and Ron we've seen all year long, they always find a way around each other. So let's just paint the picture for a second. What if Justin Bonsignor and Ron Silk end up next to each other in a race? Probably going to happen, as it does every single week. But what if they bump Nerf bars? What if they bump tires? What if they take each other out in the first 20 laps of this race? It's a possibility. Patrick Emmerling with his untested engine. Now, again, this was the engine. Well, the engine that blew this afternoon was the engine that carried him to those 3 wins, got him into the championship, got him to the dance. So starting from 10th position, it was good to have the backup as he does battle here tonight. But stranger things have happened. And the way that these two top competitors have treated each other this year on the racetrack, we can't say off the racetrack because they don't speak off the racetrack, but more on that as the show unfolds. I would not be a bit surprised to see these drivers mix it up a little bit here tonight, and don't count out Patrick Emmerling because he's ready to seize opportunity.
Speaking of Patrick Emmerling, let's go back down to pit road. Let's hear more with Jesse Punch.
Yeah, guys, this one team has already had a very eventful day here at Martinsville. They blew an engine early in practice. It took them 2 hours to get that engine changed, which sounds like a lot, but is incredibly quick when it comes to how much they were able to get done in that time. Barely got it out there to qualify, but managed to qualify 10th. I talked to Patrick. He said it does give us a little bit of a confidence boost, but at the end of the day, I'm just out here to push for a win. All he's focused on is getting that Martinsville clock.
Yeah, that team has been very, very strong in the second half of the season, Jesse. They have been fun to watch. I would expect Emmerling to have a pretty good run tonight. We'll see if he can rally up through that top 10 starting position. Speaking of starting positions, let's take a look at the starting lineup for tonight's Virginia is for Racing Lovers 200, the 16th and final race of the 2024 season. Justin Bonsignor on the pole position, 3-time series champion, going for his 4th tonight. Lines up alongside Luke Baldwin, making his 3rd start in the Whelen Modified Tour.
The 25-year-old starts in third. That would be Jacob Lutz out of New York, with Austin Beers on the outside. Beers with 3 pole positions this year.
Row 3, the Monadnock winner, the 56 car of Trevor Catalano, having a great season in his rookie campaign alongside Craig Lutz, who sits 5th in the championship standings.
The 8-year-old race car goes next for car number 60. This is Matt Hirschman, already a winner this year. Big Money Matt starts next.
Carson Lofton, just 16 years old, will roll off in 8th. Kyle Bonsignor, he was a runner-up at New Hampshire Motor Speedway earlier this season. And Patrick Emmerling, one of those title contenders, rounding out the top 10.
The Cup winner in 2012, now behind the wheel of a modified. An amazing story here tonight for car number 8. That is Ryan Newman and Jake Crum making his first start in a NASCAR Whelen modified tour car. Car number 55 goes off in 12th.
Ron Silk starts 13th tonight. Tommy Catalano led laps last year here. He was newly married, got married last Saturday night. He'll start 14th.
The driver who comes into this race, number 10 in the point standings, Tyler Ripkema, will start next, followed by NASCAR Hall of Fame member and 2002 Cup winner Bobby Labonte.
Rolling off 17th, 9-time series winner Tim Conley, Tyler Catalano alongside. You go back to the next row, Joey Coulter, 2-time Southern Whelen Modified Tour champion Andy Seiss.
Then it's Ken Hagee in car number 18. Brian Doza goes next in car number 97, and rounding out the field is car number 24. That is Andrew Kraus, top 10 driver last year.
It started in the month of February at New Smyrna Speedway in Florida as part of NASCAR Speed Weeks. Tonight, it comes to conclusion in Martinsville, Virginia, just like it did at the end of the 1985 series season. Tonight, Justin Bonsignor, Ron Silk, and Patrick Emmerling go for not only a grandfather clock, but a championship, and we're ready to turn them loose here in Martinsville. Off turn number 4, the pace car is in, and down to the green flag, Justin Bonsignor leads the Whelen Modifieds into turn 1.
Shooting off of turn number 2 for the first time, Justin Bonsignor trying to lead lap number 1, which would give him an extra point and make it 7th or better, no matter what Ronnie Silk does tonight. Justin Bonsignor, all he has to do is finish 7th by leading that lap. He's up on top by 2 car lengths off of turn number 2 with Luke Baldwin charging.
Bonsignor just made it that much more difficult for Ron Silk as he takes over that race lead, leading lap 1. The next thing he'll target is trying to lead the most laps, but we've got to get deeper into the race to determine how that looks. You go back a little bit further, you see a great battle. The 56, the rookie driver, Trevor Catalano, the last night that he'll have that yellow bumper, he's going to the inside of another very talented driver. 16 years old, the Carson Lofton driver, number 23. He's a real talent, and he's inside the top 10.
We talk about the future of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tours. Here comes Matt Hirschman taking a peek to the inside. A little too early for the PD Motorsports number 60. They'll go back into turn number 1 side by side, and pulling off the corner this time, it looks like Catalano, who was in his big brother's wedding last weekend. That's why the Catalano cars were not at North Wilkesboro. He drifts wide and now slows off of turn number 4.
Well off the pace, missed the corner, then went up the hill. That car coming to a crawl here along the front straightaway, pulls across the racetrack. Problems for Catalano. Now he's got it fired up once again. His car is rolling, but he's well behind the pack, and the caution flag is out for the first time tonight. You saw Catalano when he got down into turn number 3. The car just darted up the racetrack, seemed to lose fire, nearly coming to a stop here along the front straightaway before he was able to get that car rolling once again.
What kind of summer did you have? There is Trevor Catalano, who won his first NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour event at the Monadnock Speedway, put him up in the standings for the NASCAR Whelen Short Track Cup, which was won by Patrick Emmerling this year. It was a special championship within the championship for races based at Monadnock Speedway, and Emmerling went in and just took it in the final of 3 races. Let's look at the replay here. Going into turn number 3, he has a car length that just drifts wide, seemed to miss the corner.
Car was pretty stable throughout that, and then it came to a quick stop here. It was rolling slow before he was able to get that fired. He's got it down on pit road. Tough break for this team because they had qualified well. He started the race today in the 5th position, was running in 6th the time when this incident happened, and now he brings that 56 car down to the attention of the crew. But had a great conversation with Trevor Catalano earlier in the day today. Just started college recently, studying mechanical engineering with the hopes that that would aid the efforts on this team. And he said, in fact, it had his brother Tommy Catalano looked at a lot of data as a mechanical engineer and applied it to their race program, and he said that was one of the reasons why we got so much better. And they've got 2 of those Catalano modifieds in the top 10 of the championship standings. They've been very proud of their efforts, and to run 3 cars at this level at a series like this in the Whelen Modified Tour, that's significant for the accomplishment of this entire Catalano family team.
Back in February, when they rolled those 3 cars into New Smyrna, everybody thought, again, it was going to be tough. It was going to be a feat, but would they be able to complete the entire year? Yes, they did, with the exception, of course, of the wedding, which was, of course, what's a wedding? It's scheduled months, years in advance. And the North Wilkesboro race wasn't supposed to run on that day, originally scheduled for a few weeks earlier, but due to the remnants of Hurricane Helene and North Wilkesboro being a drop-off area where the region had rallied and donated a number of items that would bring a lot of things to the Speedway, including some of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour competitors. You saw Ron Silk's hauler completely full of goods to bring down from the Northeast and coming together as one big family. Racers helping racers in their region. But that's the reason why the race wasn't run a few weeks ago. The Catalanos were ready to race that day, but due to the fact that there was a wedding on a rescheduled date, the wedding had to stay. But I wonder if the Catalanos had their way. They tried to get here, but not everybody was on board with that.
It was a long drive from Western New York to North Wilkesboro Speedway, and they could not quite make it work, but they had a great time, we're told, at the wedding, and now they're back here to race. Trevor Catalano was on and off pit road one more time. They have now sent him back around. He tried to stay on the lead lap, but he will rejoin at the tail end of the field as the field rolls into turn 3, getting set for the restart here. It'll be lap 9 when they come across the start-finish line. The front row looks the same. Justin Bonsignor on the inside, the 7 New York of Luke Baldwin to his outside as they come through the Geico restart.
Greg Lott's slow to get up through the gears. He gathers it back up and sails it back into turn number 2. He'll be in sole possession of third, but what a run of steam by the black car, number 46 down the back straightaway. He'll go after Luke Baldwin into turn number 3. It's still Bonsignor not surrendering the lead by about now a full car length off of 4.
Bonsignor will complete the pass as they come up out of the front straightaway. Single file among the top 3, and then you got Jake Lutz sitting there in 4th as he was able to break free in that battle a little further back. There's Bonsignor leading Baldwin, Lutz, and here's a battle now for 5th. Here's Austin Beers working to the inside of Matt Hirschman. These 2 neighbors on Mud Lane in Northampton, Pennsylvania. They go toe-to-toe for the 5th spot.
Now, Austin Beers running strong at the beginning of the race is nothing new, but talking to him this afternoon, he said the one thing that our team really needs to get better on in 2025, when we look at our data, when we just talk things over after the race, is the second half of the race. Sometimes it's the driver. They've had a few pit miscommunications, which have regulated him back a little bit. I think he surprised a lot of people a couple of years ago when he was up there challenging for wins and picking up those first wins. And you don't want to say that the driver had an off year, but I think we expected a little bit more out of the 64 team this year.
A year ago, the challenge for them was on pit road with the pit stops. They got that cleaned up over the winter. They went to work and got better. Meanwhile, trouble. The 54 of Tommy Catalano has knocked the left front off of his car. Tim Conley, the Mystic Missile 4, into the outside wall as well. Both wheels pointed to the right on that car, and already Tommy Catalano taking the gloves off. He is done, it looks like, for the night. At least they'll have to go ahead and pull that car back to the pit area. He had started a little deeper in the field, I think, than he had hoped here tonight, and that certainly did not aid in his efforts here early on after starting back in the 14th position.
And that's the risk you run when you're in the back of the pack. We've seen that happen a few times in crucial parts of the season with our championship contenders. You have Patrick Emmerling. When you look at his stats for 2024, they're amazing, with the exception of one race, and it was that one race that actually took him out. And you take that race away, and Patrick Emmerling is within a handful of points of the championship. Let's watch the replay here.
Yeah, we'll get a look at this. You can see that Tommy Catalano was not happy with somebody, and it looked like he got a lot of help there. Who was that behind here? Was it the 3 car of Ripkema, possibly?
That might be Ripkema.
Just out of frame, so just kind of guessing because that was the next car that came across. But, boy, he is hot under the collar. You don't see Tommy Catalano get too fired up.
No.
And he was certainly fired up there. And for good reason. He does well at these large racetracks. This is a track that he led laps in this race last year. There you see Tyler Ripkema in the 3-car. Reason to be upset for sure.
Yeah, and you know, he is a very cool and calm, collected person. And talking to his new wife on the this afternoon, we asked if he did get nervous around the wedding ceremony and what he had to plan, and she said, no, he was just as cool as always. Oh, except for the time that he read his vows very quickly. That was it. It was the one time that he had something scripted, because when you're in the moment and you're getting married, it's a wonderful thing. But for Tommy Catalano and that beautiful wedding last week, he did speed up the words a little bit, and she was quick to point that out. But Catalano, and they got married to Hey Little Girl, or Hey Pretty Girl by Kip Moore. And that was a song that was playing when they first started dating. And I said, you guys are kind of young. I mean, that's an older song. And they've been together that long. So 2012.
So there you go.
And I think that's pretty neat. I always ask people what they got married to. I find that to be, I don't know, just an interesting footnote, because usually one side of the couple, it's great when they're both there, because one feels like Fred Flintstone and Mr. Slate's office. They just, because they forget. They don't know. And you know that I'm 2 seconds from putting you on the spot.
You know, you sound like a radio DJ. You know all the songs, you know all the hits. It's good.
Yeah, well, that's what I do when I'm, not doing this. And that was a great deflection, Joe.
Wasn't that good?
That was a great deflection.
It was a Jason Mraz song.
Yeah. Oh, it was? Was it I'm Yours?
Yes.
Beautiful song.
Yep, very good. All right, so back to racing, because I think that's why you tuned in today. There's Tim Conley. He's getting his car pushed back on pit lane. We saw Patrick Emmerling on pit road. He got some fuel, and that's going to be interesting here to see if that is the pit stop they need to gain some track position when everybody else comes down midway through the race to get tires and fuel. And so we'll keep an eye on that. Emmerling on pit road under the second caution of the night to get some fuel. They have since towed the Catalano machine back to the garage area, and Tim Conley, his car sits paused in his pit stall on pit road as the field has been given the one-to-go signal. We'll be 18 laps in to the Virginia's for Racing Lovers 200 here at the Martinsville Speedway, the series finale for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. And Justin Bonsignor so far has checked every box here this weekend. He has led every lap to this point in the race.
If he picks up the lap leader award, that is another extra point. So no matter what Ron Silk does, all Justin would have to do would be finish 8th in this race, which seems like a pretty easy task, but things can change in an instant here at Martinsville Speedway with Luke Baldwin on the outside in the 7 New York. Here we go off of turn number 4. Green flag in the end.
From atop the flag stand, we're off and running one more time. And boy, Luke Baldwin has done a nice job at the outside of the restarts here at Martinsville, but the inside lane is preferred. Can't keep the throttle down as they hit the back straightaway. Justin Bonsignor trying to clear as they head for turn 3.
Just out of your screen is Matt Hirschman in car number 60. He was trapped on the high side, very quickly moved down low. He's going to go to the inside of Jake Crum as they work their way back into turn number 1. And now a little bumper tag going on further on back. There's Kyle Bonsignor that gets involved in. What about Ronnie Silk? We haven't talked about Silk that much in the first 19 laps of this race. He started in 13th. He's moved up just a little bit, but not nearly enough.
He's up to 9th with that pass over Jake Crum, so he's moving forward, but he's got work to do. This is a long race, and as we have seen in the past, a lot of things can happen. So Ron Silk and that team is going to need to rely on all that experience to be able to be in the mix for the championship at the end of the day. There is the 16 for Ron Silk. 1.5 seconds behind the race leader, Justin Bonsignor, 9th on the racetrack. He's picked up 4 since we dropped the green flag.
Yeah, my mistake on that, the number 14 would not be that driver. That's actually Jacob Lutz driving the car number 14 down the back straightaway. Rides in 5th, a nice solid run. But pulling in front of him is Austin Beers in the number 16, who runs really well on these flat surfaces, picking up a win near his home in Lancaster earlier this year. Number 64 looking to close this year out big. They already have plans ahead for 2025.
Absolutely. It's been a little bit of a running joke as to what their contract looks like, but he said he will be back with the 64 team. And he's been a bright spot in the Whelen Modified Tour. New young talent coming in, has a lot of potential for him. That win in Lancaster earlier this season, and he documented earlier it wasn't the pit stops that were a problem, but they just have a hard time getting the adjustment right where they gain speed in the second half of the race. And he said if we can get that adjustment right at the midpoint of these races, we'll be competitive at the end. Right now having a pretty solid run so far inside the top 5 and really looking like Austin Beers did a year ago, where he was inside the front half of the top 5 or top 10, not the back half of the top 10, and that's been their struggle throughout 2024.
A lot of that has to do with the fact that he has been on the pole so many times over the last couple of years, even this year with 3 pole positions. But to your point, trying to stay to the front has been a bit of a task. Another driver right in front of him, how about Craig Lutz in car number 46, put together a really nice race at North Wilkesboro, but much like some of their other races this season, it wasn't a full race. And the team knows that too. They have a ton of speed, they have a lot of talent in Craig, and they just by their own admission say, we need to put a full race together. And I think once they do, they are going to be a top 5 team for 2025. I love the speed out of that 46. He's right there with the leaders, and he's holding off Austin Beers going into turn number 1.
And that's really been the difference. Those 2 drivers, Austin Beers 4th in points, 5th in points for Craig Lutz. And that difference of being able to put the full race together, all 16 races, is really the difference between them and the top 3 running for the championship of Bonsignor, Silk, and Emmerling. If those 2 drivers can get that figured out, you're going to have more names in the mix among that title hunt. And they've been good all season long. The question is what does it look like as the race goes on? Craig Lutz, that 46 car, you can't say enough about how good they are on the big tracks. Every time you roll in to Thompson, they've led a ton of laps at New Smyrna, the season opener earlier this season, and it's no surprise to see him running 3rd here in the early stages. We'll see how it plays out as the race goes on. Now, we've been talking about the battles a little bit deeper in the field. The battle up front has been pretty intense. We've seen that battle of Justin Bonsignor. Luke Baldwin has been keeping him honest as the race goes on. And there's been pretty good battles all throughout the field so far. There you see the top 2, only about a car length between Bonsignor and Luke Baldwin in that 7 York.
Luke Baldwin rides in spot number 2. As you mentioned, a couple of car links off the back bumper, and talking to his dad, Tommy Baldwin Jr., who obviously has been around the upper echelon of NASCAR for decades, and his name runs in the family as well, and you know, the tradition started with his father, Tom Baldwin. I asked him if there was anybody that Luke reminds him of as far as drivers that he's worked with. He says, you know, really a lot of them, he's got it. And as long as he has it, he's going to be good. He's his own race car driver, but the one driver that he singled out was Ryan Blaney. And ever since he said that, I haven't been able to think differently about that. He runs very much like Ryan Blaney, and Tommy Baldwin has had experience with him, of course, over the years, too. So that when you watch him run smooth, he's obviously got a very fast race car, but he's not burning up his tires. And Ryan Blaney, while he's not the youngest driver out there now and former Cup champion, he was wise beyond his years when he was running the Pro All-Star Series as a teenager, running the Truck Series as a teenager. He was a driver he might have been 18 years old, but he had a 35-year-old soul, and I see a lot of that in Luke Baldwin, too. The night that he won the Smart Modified Championship, just 1 week ago, I asked him how he celebrated. He said, we didn't. We had another race to do, and it was North Wilkesboro last Sunday. He said, I got 7 hours sleep last night. And I'm ready to run here today. And I'm not running to win. If the opportunity comes up to win, I'm going to go for it. But I'm here to earn respect. And we're talking about North Wilkesboro last Sunday. He certainly did a lot of that. Ran in the top 5 for a good chunk of the race. And now he's going after Justin Bonsignor. He closed the gap down to 2 car lengths that time in turn number 3.
And he's a driver that I think we're going to see more of in 2025 and has aspirations of moving up into the higher levels of NASCAR. Of course, his dad is a competition director at Rick Ware Racing, former Daytona 500 champion as a crew chief, Tommy Baldwin, and of course the 3rd-generation racer here, Tiger Tom Baldwin. We talked about that before the green flag flew. He's got the pedigree of the Baldwin family, the experience, the modifieds. I mean, he grew up around this style of racing, and he's a driver that I think is going to have a lot of talent that we'll keep an eye on as the years go on. So great battle up here at the front. We continue to monitor the Justin Bonsignor and Luke Baldwin battle. Let's take a look at Ron Silk, though. We've been keeping an eye on him. He's sitting in the 9th position. He hasn't moved further forward. Look at the car that's behind him, though. That is Ryan Newman driving that 8th car for John Michael Chanette. He is riding there in 10th. Newman, who won here in Martinsville, the NASCAR Cup Series back in 2012, and has got a handful of Whelen Modified Tour victories to his credit.
And one of the hardest guys to pass. He earned that reputation throughout his Cup career, but watching him at North Wilkesboro Speedway last week, he's still one of the toughest guys to pass. Doesn't matter what kind of car he's driving. And both of those drivers are closing in on the car in front of them, the red car that's just out of your screen right now. That's Lofton in car number 23.
There's a kid who's really mature, too, and he said, last time they came out, he's had a couple of races this season, both inside the top 10, both 9th-place finishes that he has had here in the 2024 season. Carson Lofton, unbelievable driver at just 16 years of age. He has proven that he belongs here in modified competition, sitting there in the 8th spot. And, he runs a lot of the Smart Modified series that's down here in the South. But these cars are a little different from the tire setup, and you can't just combine those notes from one to the next and have a lot of result. But he said, with our car, it worked. What we ran on Saturday at North Wilkesboro worked on Sunday at North Wilkesboro, and we continue to take that approach as we continue to grow our program and run more and more of these NASCAR races.
This is NASCAR's oldest division, and we talk a lot about the heritage of this class, whether it's the 7 New York or the Mystic Missile of Tim Connolly carrying on the Bob Gambarino tradition. Justin Bonsignor tying Reggie Ruggiero on Sunday with 44 wins. The future of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour is so rich when you have drivers like Lofton in car number 23. You also have Trevor Catalano picking up a win earlier this year. And so many young drivers are really starting to make their mark as they have this year, whether they stay regional racers or they aspire to grow into the top 3 national series. You can be watching, as you're watching on Flow Racing here tonight, you can be watching a handful of stars that you will see racing on Sundays for Cup wins and Cup championships. And then on the other side, you have, I wouldn't say lifers, but you have Ron Silk, who has 26 wins in this division. 2 championships spread over a couple of decades. He comes into this race with a shot at the 3rd. Right behind him, though, look at that battle. Tyler Ripken is going to go down to the inside of Ryan Newman and rattling Ryan Newman's cage. Not the smartest thing to do, and there's more contact, a bit of retaliation. Good rubbing off in turn number 2, but it's still Old Blue. Tyler Ripkema in car number 3, inheriting the driving duties from Jake Johnson about 2 or 3 races ago. This is their 5th race. They've had 2 really good events, and they've had 2 races where they missed it. And talking about 2025, that's still up in the air. But I think Tyler Ripkema and his family have found a home with this number 3 car.
It's been interesting to see how quickly they have taken to this 3 car. He's had great results now. His 5th start with his team, already 2 top 5s. It's his 70th career start tonight for Tyler Ripkema. Still looking for that very first victory, and you'd have to believe that getting in that 3 car is going to give him a great opportunity to do it. His dad and he are businessmen up in Western New York. They said, we just didn't have the time to dedicate to running our own program. This was a perfect match for us to be able to show up, bring our expertise, match that with the Bowler family, Scott Richards, Greg Fournier, the entire group that operate this program to be able to align. He said, you know what, we let them make the decisions. We come prepared and ready to race, and so far, it's worked out pretty well for Tyler Ripkema and the 3 camp in the Bowler Racing family.
Continuing the tradition of a car that, or at least a paint scheme that's been run by Bug Stevens. We talked about some of the other drivers that have been behind the wheel, like a Jake Johnson or a Donnie Leah over the years. Seems like no matter who gets behind the wheel of that car, they don't just pick anybody to drive that car. They had the Narducci kid run a little earlier as well, Brian Narducci. He ran solidly in that on the bigger track over at Richmond Speedway last year. But, one thing that you really love to see is you love to see a team and an owner find each other. And earlier this season, it appeared that Jake Johnson had found a home in car number 3, and they picked up that win at Monadnock Speedway. And, the icon, well, I would say iconic, but the very famous
Trouble down
photo.
in turn 3, 1 car.
Oh,
I believe it's Tyler Catalano has expired the engine. That car now coming to a stop over here in turn number 4. And Catalano has got a whole bunch of steam and smoke coming out from underneath the hood of that machine.
The honeymoon is over, even though he wasn't the one that did get married. It was all of those guys having a very, very, very hard night. But Catalano getting out of the race car in a hurry. So here we are on lap number 53. Justin Bonsignor has led it since the drop of the green flag. Luke Baldwin has run second for pretty much the entire race. But I think this is going to be a very interesting restart where you have Craig Lutz, who was lights out great in the last restart. So car 46 will be on the inside, and Luke Baldwin's been able to, while he's been strong on the outside, he has quickly found his way behind the 51 after just a couple of laps. He's not going to have that opportunity because I think Craig Lutz is ready to lead this race and make a statement and put together a full race in that number 46 that they desperately want.
So the third caution of the evening comes out here. We're now 54 laps into the Virginia is for Racing Lovers 200 here at Martinsville. We'll come back with more. It's the series championship race for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour to wrap up the 2024 season. Stay with us. Pit stops underway here at Martinsville. The second round of stops. Justin Bonsignore in for fuel. He will come back out onto the race course with Austin Beers, Craig Lutz, and then Luke Baldwin and Kyle Bonsignore racing for those final spots off of pit lane here after this caution period. The third one of the day this time for Tyler Catalano, who had expired a motor down the back straightaway. Let's get an update on the pit stops. Let's go downstairs to Jesse Punch.
Guys, the 51 of Justin Bonsignore brought this far down pit road for the first time tonight. That team changing 2 right side tires, bringing it down a second time for some fuel. Noting that the 16 of Ron Silk decided to stay out, so they will still have an extra stop to make in comparison to where this 54 team has managed their strategy here this evening.
Thank you, Jesse. As we take a look at that strategy with the 16 car of Ronnie Silk. Now, they did something very different coming into the race today, Andy. NASCAR allows you to run 2 different engines in these race cars. One is a NASCAR spec engine. The other is known as a built motor or an 18-degree motor. It's very rare today that you see a modified team run that 18-degree motor, but tonight, Phil Moran and this team decided to put that in the 16 car. Why does that matter? Jesse alluded to it. They have one less pit stop to take care of because they can make the entire distance on fuel in that particular car. So we talked about Ronnie Silk starting 13th on the grid tonight. He decided with that motor decision that they put in there, more fuel efficient would go the entire 200 laps. They didn't need to come back down pit road a second time because NASCAR rules say you can take tires and fuel, but you can't do them on the same pit stop. He took his tires. He got the track position. He's now second behind Patrick Emmerling, who pitted early in that race under the first caution to get his fuel. So a strategy play before they even showed up at the racetrack for Phil Moran. Ron Silk and his team got them the track position that they didn't have until now.
Races are won in the shop. Will championships be won from the shop? Shots fired for car number 16, pulling the move that they need to make. They are on offense tonight. And it seems like throughout the entire season, whoever was on defense seem to suffer. These drivers, both Justin and Ron, work best when they are on offense, when they need to make up the ground. Of course, Ronnie has a bunch of ground to make up here tonight, and he didn't get the benefit of leading a lap. That actually went to Patrick Emmerling, who's had quite the day himself. You know, when you talk about engines, he had not a bulletproof engine, because obviously it grenaded earlier this afternoon, but it was the engine that carried him to 3 different wins this year. And then to lose that on championship afternoon, or championship night in this case, talking to him right after he had lost it, he was still, I wouldn't say all smiles, but he was in the best spirits of the 3. That I think if that's going to happen to any of those drivers, Patrick Emmerling's going to be in the best mood about it, because he can put it in perspective and say, well, at least it happened during the practice session. Can you imagine if what happened to Patrick at, say, 2:30 this afternoon happened at 8:30? He would be on the outside looking in right now. At least he still has a shot and an extra bonus point by leading here under caution.
Well, this has certainly changed the complexion of this one. Patrick Emmerling out in front. He's still a title contender, but he really needs that Ron Silk and Justin Bonsignore have some bad luck for him to have a chance here today, coming in 24 points out. Now, Justin Bonsignore, remember, he's got to finish 7th or better to win the championship, regardless of what anybody else does. Right now, he's sitting there in the 4th position, so still looking okay. But if you go back a year ago, Ron Silk on a pit stop got stuck deep in the pack, and he was caught up in an incident in the back straightaway. He came out of that unscathed, but it could have been something that turned into something worse for him, and hurt him with the opportunity to win the championship. So we'll see how that plays out. Bonsignore now 4th. That's the furthest back he has been all day long. Also, you know what, Andy, I want to give a shout out to our colleague in the announce booth, Ben Dodge, who is back home recovering from surgery. Ben, we wish you well. We wish you were here with us for this championship race. You've been an iconic voice for modified racing. You mean a lot to the modified community. We miss you. We wish you well. We hope to see you back here in the announce booth with us before too long when we roll into the 2025 season.
Well said. Ben is an absolute legend. It's an absolute pleasure to work with him week in and week out and take pointers here and there. He's such a selfless man. Green flag in the air, and Patrick Emmerling shot out of a cannon back into turn number 1. Already leads it by 2 car lengths off of 2.
Great restart for Patrick Emmerling. He clears that outside car of Silk. Now down into turn number 3. Here comes Trevor Catalano. He had problems earlier. He was able to gain track position as well. But look at Bonsignore in the outside lane. He is stuck upstairs, and he is going backwards as here they come to the inside, freight training the 51.
And this could be dangerous. Ron Silk and Justin Bonsignore have yet again found each other on the racetrack, and just one slip of the tire, one slip of the steering wheel could take both of them out. And then Patrick Emmerling setting sail up front, doing exactly what he has to do. Well, that could be a whole new ballgame.
You saw on the front straightaway, Bonsignore wanted the inside lane. You can tell he's getting anxious up there. The only thing working to his advantage is both he and Ron Silk are stuck to the top side. So Silk, with that strategy play, wanted to get the track position. Now he's down to the bottom, and here comes Bonsignore. He's got Luke Baldwin to the inside lane. Behind him, his cousin, Kyle Bonsignore, and now the championship contenders side by side on the back straightaway.
It's all going now. Bonsignore finds the inside, almost gets a shot from Luke Baldwin. Baldwin rolls out of the throttle just in time, and they are inches apart. They're the championship contenders. Rocketing into turn number 1. It is Ronnie Silk, Justin Bonsignore, and Luke Baldwin in tow. Here comes Bonsignore to the inside. Is he going to use kid gloves with Ronnie Silk? My guess is absolutely not. Meanwhile, Austin Beers to the inside of Patrick Emmerling, and now Craig Lutz will lead on him off of turn number 4.
Austin Beers leading for the first time tonight here in Martinsville, goes to the number 1 spot. Lutz to the inside. Trevor Catalano started inside the top 5. He's rallied back up. He's looking for 3rd to the inside of Patrick Emmerling.
The 18-year-old goes down low, and Ronnie Silk is right there. So is Justin Bonsignore. Meanwhile, the inside lane opens up for Trevor Catalano. And now Emmerling falling back just a little bit, and Austin Beer setting sail in car number 64. As I say that, here comes Craig Lutz. Lutz was the driver who throws it to the inside, and brand new leader in turn number 4. It's Craig Lutz in the 46.
You said it, Andy, that Lutz was a guy to keep an eye on. He goes to the point just a lap later. Car 46 and car 64 at the front of this field here in Martinsville. The top two able to break away from the third place car. Patrick Emmerling now 8 car lengths as they battle for the top spot in turn 3.
Craig Lutz just needs to put a full race behind him, and that team knows they have just an absolute ton of speed week in and week out. But just little things have fallen off on that team that have prevented them from finding victory lane here this year. And something tells me as soon as they put together a full race, look out for Lutz in 2025 with this race team. They could contend for multiple wins as we stay on the screen of Justin Bonsignor looking to the inside of Ronnie Silk. There's the battle in turn and the glow. Wow. The tire's already starting to glow on Justin Bonsignor's car.
Bonsignor caught the curb coming off turn number 2, and the car got sideways. Here at Martinsville, where that yellow paint is on the bottom and that red and white curb is one of the key characteristics of this racetrack. And off turn 2 last time through, Bonsignor put the left front tire on it, trying to get under Ron Silk, and it nearly cost him an opportunity in the race car as he came off turn 2 as it got sideways.
They're racing for a championship. They're racing for a grandfather clock, and right now they are out of patience. Car number 51 looks down to the inside. Is he just going to sit behind Ron Silk when that's really all he has to do? No, he's not. He wants the grandfather clock. He crosses it up off of turn number 2, and Luke Baldwin's right there.
Bonsignor up on the wheel here, going after Ron Silk. Again, he does not need this position to win the championship, but he doesn't want to give Ron Silk any opportunity at getting in there and stealing a 4th crown away from him. We're not even halfway yet, and these two titans are going toe-to-toe, battling for position here in Martinsville.
And they will not exchange phone conversations or Christmas cards, probably not even a text message. It's been well documented throughout the season, and it really came to a head at Riverhead earlier this year, and the two have not spoken since then. And they have been friends for a number of years, but when you run so close with your buddy week in and week out, you're going to have your patience tested. You're going to have your friendship tested. And it certainly has been more this year than any other, because it's not like once in a while they run into each other. They run into each other like this every single week, and it wears on you. Right now, Ron Silk losing some big time in turn number 3.
A few years ago, when they formed this 16 car, Ryan Stone, the crew chief for Justin Bonsignor, they were courting him to be the crew chief for Ronnie Silk. Ryan Stone and Ronnie Silk are good friends. Stone crew chiefs the 51 car for Justin Bonsignor, and they tried to be able to make that work, and they couldn't, and that's when that rivalry began.
This is getting very physical on multiple platforms. You saw on your screen Matt Hirschman, who's been uncharacteristically quiet here the first half of this race in the black number 60, closing in on Ronnie Silk. A little bit of contact made further on back. But now we look at Luke Baldwin to the inside of Patrick Emmerling. Emmerling, who led that lap with some strategy, now to the outside with Tyler Ripkema on the inside. Old Blue goes forward in turn number 1. He gets the spot.
Emmerling was good on that restart, was able to clear Ronnie Silk. Then he's starting to fall backwards. Let's check in on this championship battle. Let's go back down to pit road and Jesse Punch.
You guys were laying out a moment ago the battle between the two of these drivers, but also the off-track relationship. And I know, Joe, you mentioned that was the last time they spoke over a month ago. Well, I will say, I talked to Justin today, they had to be in the same hauler for a meeting regarding post-race logistics. And he said, Ron did give me a little bit of a smirk, and that's the most conversation we've had in about a month and a half. So I don't know if that counts as conversation, but there's definitely been a bit of a rivalry somewhere in there in their friendship as well.
And that's what sports is about, right? But how about that? Hey, you guys haven't talked to each other since Riverhead. We're going to put you in a room about maybe 10 feet by 10 feet or smaller, and you guys have to stare at each other before you go out and do this race.
Oh, my goodness. It is something straight out of Days of Thunder. But you love to watch stuff like this. What we're watching amongst these two drivers year in, year out is something that's going to be talked about for 20, 25 years from, and probably even beyond that too. Because you have two drivers in the prime of their career, both champions, and between the two of them, they have close to 70 wins in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. These are the top two drivers of this generation. And they continue to fight week in and week out. And, I mean, it's a season-long championship. They race each other extremely hard. Sometimes maybe a little too hard. But they've never dumped one another. And I think that's a testament to both of their talents and really their wits amongst each other and the respect level that they do have. Even if it's only a smirk, at least they're not dumping each other.
Well, they haven't completely dumped each other, but they have certainly come close, and they have ruffled feathers. It's been exciting to watch the two veterans, but when you talked to these two teams earlier today, the demeanor of the teams were so different. You talked to the 51 team of Justin Bonsignore, lots of confidence. We can do this. We're coming off of 2 wins. We know Martinsville is good to us, but it looked a little bit different when you talked to the 16 team of Ron Silk.
Yeah, if we were judging the team reactions based on emojis, so you get a big smiley emoji out of the number 51 team, and yes, all the confidence in the world, maybe even a fist in the air. But when we were talking with Ronnie Silk, I don't know if he was tired. Usually when you talk to someone, they stand up and you have a conversation. Ron was just like he was just sitting around the race car. Didn't seem like there was a lot of energy out there. Now, with any other race team, I would have counted that as a red flag. But with Silk and that entire team, they've always thrived on being cool, under pressure, and they have certainly been under pressure many times this year. I think of Monadnock when they had to make all those pit stops. You know, you talk about some other places like last week, for example. One thing that really stuck out to me about Ronnie Silk is that when he was being lapped by Justin, I mean, you talk about being in a room 10 by 10 with somebody that you don't like. How about the person that you are battling for the championship? You had the point lead about a half an hour ago, and now he's lapping you. Did he give him any trouble? No. He got out of the way respectfully and kind of almost raced like Bugsy's way and just said, you know what, it's not my day, but I might need those goodwill chips someday. And it might not be next week, it might be next year. So, yeah, a lot of respect between those two drivers. But right now, Ron under attack from Matt Hirschman in number 60.
So we keep an eye on Ron Silk. The 16 car has fallen back now to the 8th position. Meanwhile, up toward the front of the field, Justin Bonsignore in that 51 car. He had fallen back to about where Ron Silk was. Wasn't long ago he was passing Ronnie Silk. He is now in 3rd, but he's some distance between him and the race leader, Craig Lutz, who is 5.5 seconds ahead as those two cars have really checked out. There you see the 51 of Bonsignore. And a nice recovery for the 56 of Trevor Catalano, as Jesse Punch had recorded to us a little earlier. She had said, you know what, he lost power midway down the back straightaway. They were able to get that power issue sorted back out using that pit strategy to get Trevor Catalano back up to the front of the field. And he's a bright spot tonight for the Catalano families. They have had just a dismal night here in Martinsville and kind of a sour end to a great season for those other two cars in the family.
You talk about the future of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, and you have two 18-year-old drivers running in that battle, and right in front of them is the driver going for his fourth championship in his 18th year of competition here on the tour. Justin Bonsignore really starting to rack up those stats as he matched Reggie Ruggiero 1 week ago at North Wilkesboro, can actually pass him for second on the all-time list. And how much gas is in the tank for Justin over the course of his career? He's 37 years old now. You saw him flirt with the Xfinity Series a little bit this year. Ran some ARCA. He loves being at the place that he's at right now, which is the peak of his career. And he realizes he wants to race some more. He's not going to be one of these drivers that retires when they're 40. Wants to hang around for a little bit longer.
He'll see some experience again next season. I do believe in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. The NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour schedule announced earlier today. Another 16-race schedule for 2025 will allow Justin to pursue some of those opportunities as the time goes on, but it'll be fun to watch what he can do in that 51 car. And you look at that 44 victories that he has in just 225 starts in the Whelen Modified Tour. You know, Mike Stefanik leads in all-time winners of NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour competitors. He's got 74 victories, 30 away from where Justin is now. He said, you know, if I can race until I'm about 50, he said, and I get 2 wins a year. And he didn't say it, but he said it without saying it, that he wants that title. He wants to be the most winning driver in Whelen Modified Tour competition. He's got 30 wins to go. With his age, with his youth, and his experience and the success that he has had, it's certainly not without reason or reach that he can attain that.
Sometimes drivers have a way of telling on themselves. Like last week, I had a chat with him on pit road about, potentially tying Reggie and how much that had been on his mind, because he had been on somewhat of a, I wouldn't say winless streak, but for a team like that where they're accustomed to winning 3-4 races out of the year, it had been about a month and a half, 2 months since he had won a race. And he said, we don't really think about that too much. But to Joe, your point in your share about how he wants to race until he's 50, he's already done that math in his head. And then we ask the question of, well, was it going to be the championship, or is it going to be the grandfather clock that you go after? For a race car driver, he says, well, we really don't worry about wins also so much. He already has an idea. Well, forget the idea. He already knows exactly where he wants that grandfather clock in his house. The most unique trophy in all of stock car racing, and it's so coveted. He could have the grandfather clock right when you walk in, but if his wife has her way, it's going to be in their bedroom, which is a nice place too, although I think I would want that unplugged. You don't unplug a grandfather clock, but I wouldn't want that thing working because it goes off every hour. How are you going to get any sleep?
Great battles deeper in the field, Andy. We just get past the halfway point here in the season finale for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. 102 laps go up on the scoreboard. You saw quickly Craig Lutz leading the way after the pit stop. He has been strong. We keep an eye on another driver who has had good results here at Martinsville. That is the 60 car of Matt Hirschman. He won at Seekonk earlier this season. He's only had 3 starts here, all of the finishes inside the top 5, a pair of runner-ups. 4th place last year for Matt Hirschman. He's been riding around inside the top 10, 9th at the moment as he follows in the tire tracks of Ron Sill.
And one must wonder if Matt Hirschman ran the entire NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, would he be a championship contender? You never know, because all we see from him is all go, all show, because when he comes to the racetrack, he comes to win. He doesn't come to point race for obvious reasons, and he goes after the big money. So if he had to become a model of consistency, could he do it? He might do it next year, because when you talk about Matt Hirschman, you talk about all the money. Big money Matt might be enticed by what Whelen is stepping up with. Whelen Engineering is returning to the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour through 2029. It was announced earlier today, and payouts are going up, guaranteed increases, and involvement from Whelen. You gotta love a company like Whelen, who makes the investment in racing, finds that it works for their brand, and they want to reinvest on top of that. And to have the partnership that Whelen and NASCAR have had over the years, it's going to be carrying it to its 25th year at the end of 2029. And it will be interesting to see who ends up on the tour in 2025. Maybe it's Matt Hirschman. I'm not sure if it's going to be Ryan Newman, but Ryan put one heck of a move on Matt Hirschman just a couple of laps ago to make that move, and now he's going after Ron Sill. Yeah,
he did indeed. You talk about Matt Hirschman, just to put a period on that thought. He does have a runner-up championship point standing back in 2008. That was early on in his career. It was also the same year that he came home second in a race here at Martinsville. Hirschman would certainly be a joy to have all season long. Now, Ryan Newman is starting to pick up some speed here as this run goes on. Got by Matt Hirschman not too long ago, you saw that. Now he cuts underneath Ron Silk, defending series champion, off turn 2. He'll pick up another spot in that 8 car, and that in and of itself is a story. This is a car owned by John Michael Chenette, grew up in Thompson, Connecticut, but now lives in North Carolina as a general contractor. Ryan Newman wanted to be able to go racing, and so he was talking with Tim Conley about possibly driving the Mystic Missile, the V4, as the season went on. Tim said, you know what? This may not work out for us, but maybe I can give you the phone number of John Michael Chenette. Well, the story goes that as a kid, it was his favorite driver, Ryan Newman. John Michael Chenette had sent something over to Team Penske and said, hey, can I get an autograph from Ryan Newman? Newman signed that, sent it back to him at 15 years old with a quote from Team Penske that said, effort equals success. He has that today. When Ryan Newman called John Michael Chenette, he thought he was pulling his leg. All of a sudden, it came together, and he's got the opportunity as a car owner of that 8 car to have his hero as a driver, the driver that he looked up to driving his race car here to this historic racetrack at Martinsville Speedway. Unbelievable story, and Newman has got unbelievable speed right now.
I wonder who's going to get the grandfather clock if Newman picks up this win. He's going down to the inside, and this is where dreams are realized. The NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour is essentially a regional tour, and you have drivers who this isn't their vocation. A lot of them go to work and work 40, 50 hours. We talked about the Tyler Ripkema family and the fact that they just couldn't keep their race team together because they were busy running their businesses. This is what these drivers and these teams do when they're not putting food on the table, when they're not out there doing what pays the mortgage. This is their passion. These dreams are realized on the racetrack, whether you're a crew member, whether you're a driver, whether you are an owner. And what a ride it has been for car number 8 tonight as he swings down to the inside. He is one of the fastest race cars on the racetrack at this point.
The last 2 winners of this race have been Cup Series drivers. You go back to 2022, Corey LaJoie won the race that year. Ryan Preece won the race last year. Could Ryan Newman or Bobby Labonte keep that trend going and get 3 years in a row of Cup Series drivers winning this race in the modifieds at Martinsville?
You have Matt Hirschman. It's hard to believe that he does not have a grandfather clock in his arsenal. He has a lot of money. He could buy a ton. He could buy a warehouse of grandfather clocks with all the money he's won over the last couple of years. But it isn't necessarily about the purchase itself. It's about the most coveted trophy in motorsports in NASCAR. The grandfather clock, everybody talks about it. Someone's going to win one, likely here inside the next 45 minutes. Oh, yeah, and we're going to crown a champion, too, which increasingly looks like Justin Bonsignor. But there is a reason why we run all the laps, and anything could still happen. And anything has happened this year in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Just when you think that, well, one storyline is going to play out exactly how you think it's going to play out, there's something that comes along and really changes the guard. Sparks shooting out of that number 16 going into turn number 1.
And we've got trouble in turn 2. I think it's the 56 car that has gone around. Again, trouble for Trevor Catalano, who is running solidly inside the top 5 at the time he went around. The caution flag is out for the 4th time today here at Martinsville Speedway. 119 laps complete in the Virginia's for Racing Lovers 200. In the series finale for the Whelen Modified Tour. And for the 2nd time today, caution is out for Trevor Catalano.
Catalano will make his way through turns number 3 and 4 as Craig Lutz. Again, you know, we've talked a lot about our championship contenders here this afternoon and this evening, but Craig Lutz has really put together a 120-lap race. Needs to put together 200. See, that is, or that has been the story. Matter of fact, 2 of your top competitors really have had a hard time closing out races this year. Craig Lutz, Austin Beers, both have shown an enormous amount of speed. It looks like they might be coming to pit road this time. But can they close it out? Catalano's going to line up in 3rd.
And on a race like this, 200 laps in distance, it gives you a few more times to come down pit road and work on those race cars. So the 46 to 64, that strategy of how they make their cars better on pit road will really come into play here tonight. 46 car leads them down pit lane. He's the race leader, Craig Lutz. What could be the final pit stop of the season for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour teams. They're on pit road. In the middle of this is the championship battle with a lot on the line. Justin Bonsignor with the upper edge, but Ron Silk and his team, they've got strategy to be able to work their way up through the field. Let's go down to pit road with Jesse Punch.
16 of Ron Silk made his way down pit road. Finally, this crew changing 2 right side tires. He's going to have to bring it back down for fuel because they have not done that yet, but making his way back out on the track. This team has managed to make up some serious ground during this race, and it looks like they're going to continue to do more of that here following this pit stop.
And he does indeed, Jesse. Came down pit road, and the bottom half of the top 10 will come out second, right behind Justin Bonsignor. So it's Bonsignor to win the race off of pit road. Ron Silk will come out second. Austin Beers, Craig Lutz, 3rd and 4th, and Luke Baldwin will come out inside the top 5. That's how they came off pit road. 121 laps complete in the Virginia's for Racing Lovers 200.
51 rides in spot number 1, and then you have Ron Silk, and all I could think of was just that smirk that Ron gave Justin during the during the championship celebration pre-meeting on how things are going to go down depending on who picks it up and everything. But yeah, there's that level of respect that goes there. They don't necessarily talk. Sometimes I guess you don't have to. And when I was talking with Ron about it, he said, it's not unlike a lot of other male friendships. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? The last time I called one of my friends, right? And we don't have a conflict. We're racing for a racing championship or anything like that. So, Ron put it, he definitely put it in a way that made it make sense to me on how two close friends can talk all throughout the racing season, whether they're on the racetrack or off the racetrack, but then that goes away. On pit road now is Luke Baldwin, the 18-year-old. And there's his father putting some wedge in the car.
Making an adjustment, pitting out of the 5th position, giving up a ton of track position, also working on that right rear tire. Might have been one of the reasons why they came down pit road, to see if they can get that car secure once again, as they came off the racetrack out of the 5th position for this extra pit stop here, and that could be costly for Luke Baldwin, who had a great run going tonight. Still is a fast race car, but he's going to have a long way to go here today. As we stand right now, he is 15th, the last car on the lead lap.
So Luke Baldwin pulls his way off of turn number 2, and of course the grandson of the late great Tom Baldwin, Tiger Tom, Tiger on the race car. And I asked him a couple of weeks ago, I said, do you have any memories of...
Well, race fans, make sure you catch the results from the NASCAR Cup Series race at Homestead, Miami, to see if Ryan Blaney can finish in the top 10. The top 12 finish unlocks 25% off online at shop.advanceautoparts.com, Tuesday from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Just to put a bow on that story, he loves watching races on YouTube and watching old footage of his grandfather to race. And that's car number 7, who's going to refire from 15th starting position. But look at this. This is what Patrick Emmerling loves to see from spot number 5. It's Justin on the inside. It's Ron on the outside. Your 2 championship titans off of turn number 4.
How aggressive will they be? The 2 title contenders on the front row. Bonsignor with the upper hand, but they come together getting down into turn number 1. Silk slides up the racetrack, and Bonsignor tries to clear him off turn 2.
The spoiler just might be Austin Mears. He swings to the inside and now evens it up, nearly makes some contact with Ronnie Silk. Silk will swish up the racetrack a little bit. Here comes Craig Lutz to the inside, and Patrick Emmerling's entered in there as well. The inside line rolls, and Ronnie Silk might lose 4 spots before this is over.
Silk getting freight train stuck up there in the outside lane, not where you want to be in Martinsville. He sails it down into turn 3. You see the car walk up the racetrack, hands up, steering that car as it comes off the corner. He'll tuck back in line, but Newman will stick the nose to the inside. We've got trouble on the front straightaway. 2 cars have come together. Bobby Labonte and the 70 car of Andy Seiss spin, but they're both able to continue on.
Actually, Seiss has some Cup experience as well. Not nearly the resume that Bobby Labonte has, but Seiss a champion in his own right, a 2-time champion of the Southern Modified Tour. And Andy talking to him on pit road, and I think actually both of these drivers are in different phases of their career, but kind of the same phase. Bobby has accomplished everything he has as a NASCAR Hall of Famer and has really found a home in the modifieds the last half dozen to 10 years or so, and has had a lot of success in them. And talking to Andy this afternoon, he says, I don't race full-time anymore. He's, had the opportunity to race inside the top 3 series of NASCAR, but now is, very relatable, raising a family. And family comes first, but when Dad wants to go racing, Dad has an opportunity to kind of stick his toe in to the pool every once in a while. Today's that day for car number 70. You see Labonte on the screen. After trouble there on the front straightaway, we're under caution again.
It was an interesting moment earlier today when we had both Jerry Cook and Bobby Labonte talking modified racing before they went out for qualifying. Of course, those are 2 NASCAR Hall of Famers. Jerry Cook, so instrumental in the formation of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, actually joined us last year in 2023 at New Smyrna Speedway as part of the broadcast. It was great to have him involved and great to have him continuing to be very much engaged in modified racing and certainly an icon in the sport. Bobby Labonte, no different. So much he has done, and it's so great to see him continue to invest his time with this SS team to be able to continue running in the Modified Tour.
Same thing with Ryan Newman as well, to continue to find a new lane and keep his name out there and keep that competitive fire going, because the fire never goes away. I don't care if you're Bobby Labonte, you're Ryan Newman, you're Andy Seiss, or you're Jerry Cook. Jerry Cook told us today he does not miss a week of NASCAR racing. He said, I have multiple TVs. You roll one out and the other one's ready to go too, so he might be a lot of us. So his second screen experience wouldn't be necessarily looking at his phone while he's watching the races. He actually has 2 TVs going of racing pretty much all the time, and you got to love someone with that passion.
Hey, that sounds like a good plan to me. What also sounds like a great plan is just the excitement around the Whelen Modified Tour that came to fruition here at Martinsville Speedway earlier in the day today. You see Luke Baldwin at 7 New York also working off of pit lane. But, earlier in the day today, NASCAR, Whelen Modified Tour officials, and Whelen made an announcement about the extension of their partnership, already 20 years in the making, really a groundbreaking partnership that extends the entitlement sponsor of Whelen Engineering to 2029, an outstanding thing that allows a minimum of $11,000 to win a race, a minimum of $2,000 to start, additional awards being totaled throughout the season, and a very high purse for the title winner. 250% increase for Whelen's contribution for the championship point fund. There you see Joey Denowitz from NASCAR, Peter Tizzi from Whelen Motorsports to be able to provide that opportunity. But so much on the line for drivers as they look forward to 2025 and a little extra cash that'll go to these teams.
And they're looking at the entire field, too, and drivers that don't necessarily finish in the top 10 every single week, but they're looking at it as, the guaranteed money to start is really going up, too, and they know the health of any touring division isn't necessarily in the front runners, it's in the meat of the field. It's the drivers who are running in the middle, 13th, 14th, 15th place, and, sometimes fall back towards the tail end of the point standings. They're just as important, too. They're sacrificing their time. They're sacrificing their money, and they're going to be rewarded for staying as Whelen, again, extending through 2029, bringing it to 25 years by that time. And what a robust schedule, too. They have found a sweet spot in the schedule and a couple of different new-ish places to go for next year.
16 races again in 2025 will start on February 8th at New Smyrna Speedway, including North Wilkesboro Speedway in May. It'll be a companion event for the NASCAR Cup Series All-Star Race, back to Richmond Raceway, back to New Hampshire Motor Speedway, and back to Martinsville Speedway at the end of the season to crown the champion. Those are just a couple of the highlights, along with many other that are on the calendar for 2025. But first, we got to settle this one here tonight. The grandfather clock, the championship on the line. 2 white cars on the front row. Justin Bonsignor, 51. Austin Beer, 64. Green flag is back out.
Austin Beer stays right with Justin Bonsignor, but only till about turn number 2. Comes down right in front of Greg Lutzen now. Here comes Matt Hirschman. Hirschman with a shot of car 46, or to a shot of 46 of Greg Lutz. And now he'll look down to the inside, trying to fight off that black car as they work their way into turn number 1. And Patrick Emmerlin losing time on the outside.
That's Matt Hirschman in the 60 car, sitting there in 4th. Emmerlin now in 5th. And there is Andrew Krause right ahead of the 16 car of Ron Silk, who continues to find himself stuck in the outside lane. That 16 car is going backwards, and the championship hopes for Ronnie Silk are going backwards with it.
It's been a tough day for car number 16, and really a tough week, too. They had the first time that they finished outside of the top 10 all year last Sunday over at North Wilkesboro Speedway, but now double file cars ahead of or behind them. You have Joey Coulter on the inside, then there's Bobby Labonte and Colton on the inside. Now there's Luke Baldwin. Remember, Luke Baldwin had the time on pit road, which regulated him back to 15th. He needs to charge his way through the field. Doesn't have a lot of time to do it. Just 63 laps when they hit the start-finish line this time.
Ron Silk, he can't keep his car on the bottom if he wanted to. They are just flying by him. He's almost to the tail end of this lead lap pack. Here's Luke Baldwin, goes to the inside. Silk clearly off the pace on the back straightaway. Silk now making his way down pit road. Ronnie Silk, championship contender, is on pit lane under green.
You gotta really feel for the 16 team after putting in months and months of hard work, passion, and ultimate excellence with all the wins that he stacked up this year. He's well into the 20s, but now having to concede essentially and pulls down right in front, and the crew isn't even really on the race car at all. So this could be a terminal issue. They are going to put some fuel in the tank here.
139 laps in. They're trying to fuel
run out of gas?
The 16 car for Ronnie Silk, and he takes back off again. Unbelievable development out of this. If he ran out of fuel, that's a shocker. We documented earlier in the race that with the 18-degree built motor that they have in this 16 car, they should have been able to go the entire distance on fuel, even with the NASCAR spec engine. They should have been able to go the entire distance so far on fuel without having to come down pit road. But Ron Silk goes down a lap in what apparently seems to be him not having enough fuel 139 laps into today's race.
That is a heartbreaker for car number 16. That could actually move him out of second in the point standings before the end of the night, because you have Patrick Emmerling in car number 1, who's led a lap. He's running in the 5th position right now, so not a bad night for him as Justin Bonsignor continues to lead this race into turn number 3. The driver that I'm watching continues to be Craig Lutz, and behind him is Matt Hirschman, who's had an uncharacteristic off night so far in the first 3 quarters of this race. But I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see him all of a sudden come alive here as we watch on the right side of your screen Ronnie Silk coming back in again.
Fuel might not have been the problem for the 16 car of Ronnie Silk. He brings it back down to the attention of his crew, and he will just bypass them completely and not even stop in his pit stall. Ron Silk will bring the 16 car to the garage, and his championship hopes are all but done. And Justin Bonsignor now in the catbird seat as we approach 55 laps to go in Martinsville, and the heartbreak for Tyler Height, Joe Yanone, the car owners for this team, defending series champions. Started off so strong at the beginning of the season, but tonight it's mechanical problems that will sideline the 16 car of Ronnie Silk.
Trying for his first or his three wins in a row in car number 51, and that has not happened. He's won a lot of races back-to-back over the years, but to the best of our records here, has not won 3-point races in a row. Car 51 could actually do that tonight and make a statement. He could pass Reggie Ruggiero. He could grab a grandfather clock for the first time in his career, and his 4th NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour Championship. As it's a tale of 2 seasons, really. You have Justin Bonsignor's leader on the left side of your screen on Flow Racing, and on the right side, it is an absolute heartbreaker to watch Ronnie Silk and his hopes of a championship number 3, vanishing. And then there's a dejected number 16.
You see the look on the face for Ron Silk. They certainly had a great season by many standards, although at the end of it, it just did not play out the way they would have hoped it would for that 16 team. The battle between these two teams is entertaining all season long, and quite honestly, it's been that way for the past 3 years in the Whelen Modified Tour. Ron Silk will make that long walk to the hauler, but an unfortunate end to a great season for Silk and this team, and it is not meant to be in 2024 for car number 16.
Without the race on Sunday and this one here on Saturday night, it has been an outstanding season for car 16, and I'm sure we'll see him back again in 2025 just as strong. Now, there have been a half dozen times since 2018 where Justin Bonsignor has won back-to-back races, and he came close to winning 3 straight races, but he was interrupted by Matt Hirschman. And you got to go back to 2018 for this one, where Justin won at Thompson, he won at Bristol, and then Matt Hirschman broke through at Oswego, and then the following week it was back to Justin Bonsignor. So Justin has taken 3 of 4 a couple of times, but as far as winning 3 straight, this is uncharted territory, and what a statement it would be for a driver who absolutely dominated at Wilkesboro and took the elevator ride to the top. He's had a couple of weeks. If he's able to hang on here for the final 48 laps, 47 laps, he's taken the elevator ride. He just might get the grandfather clock. It is basically a NASCAR driver's dream. On your screen now, you see a great battle with Luke Baldwin going down to the inside in 2-storied modified paint schemes, and 2-storied teams with Tommy Baldwin's number 7. And then there's the old blue number 3. He went around Tyler Ripkema, and Luke Baldwin is on the charge. He is right behind Kraus. Andrew Kraus, after some pit strategy, started at the back of the pack. He was inside the top 5, but is fading just a little bit now.
Andrew Kraus started at the last starting position here tonight. Was able to work his way forward using some strategy. Sitting in the 8th spot, Luke Baldwin started. Remember, he had that problem on pit road. They had to come down and get that right rear tire repaired on that number 70 York. He went to the back of the field when we got under the green flag and has rallied up now inside the top 10. So he continues to show a lot of strength, running 9th right now for Baldwin. Emmerling just on the left side of your frame. We talked about earlier that he needs a little luck on his side to be able to win the championship here today. Believe it or not, he's actually still behind Ronnie Silk, who's back behind pit road by 4 positions in the battle for second. But you can't count Patrick Emmerling out yet. Justin Bonjour leads with 43 as he comes across the line, laps to go. Right now, Emmerling for him, Silk out of the race on the sideline. Bonsignor leading the race, but it's not over yet. We saw how quickly things can change.
You know, one driver who's not with us here tonight, but has been a stalwart competitor of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, multi-time most popular driver, and a driver who made headlines this week for a different reason, and Melissa Fifield. Fifield not with us in competition tonight, but revealing a breast cancer diagnosis earlier this week, hoping for her speedy recovery as she battles one of her largest challenges in her life. In a time when there's been a lot of change, too. She moved, recently and is due to have a wedding to be married next month. Our thoughts are certainly and well wishes with Melissa Fifield and her family here tonight.
Yeah, very much so. Melissa has been such an important part of the Modified Tour for many, many years, and I think a lot of us questioned why she wasn't at some of the more recent races. Of course, ran North Wilkesboro here just last Sunday afternoon, but heartbreaking to hear the news of Melissa. Melissa, we wish you the best in your recovery and as your treatments take place. We hope to see you back behind the wheel of a NASCAR Modified in the very near future and back out here competing as you have done for many, many years on end here with NASCAR.
Very well said, with 39 laps left to go. Closest battle on the racetrack is the one that you see on your screen on Flow Racing. It's turning into a 3-way battle with Patrick Emmerling leading that charge. Again, he had the outside shot at the championship here tonight, which increasingly looks like it's going to Justin Bonsignor. But there's still a few battles to be written. Andrew Kraus is in the middle of this one. And then you have Emmerling with Luke Baldwin Baldwin's on the backside of that one. But looking to make a move here as they work their way into turn number 3. He's going to swing to the inside.
Baldwin gets the curve a bit down to the inside and gets into the side of Andrew Kraus. Sent him up the hill between turns 3 and 4. He's able to get by, though. You saw those white gloves inside the 24 Modified of Andrew Kraus really sawing on the wheel as he tried to keep that car pointed in the right direction.
And it's a battle for the back half of the top 10. Now, that's exactly where Kraus finished last year. Came away with the top 10, finished in 9th in car number 24. So certainly knows his way around this racetrack. And then you get to Tyler Ripkema in car number 3, running old blue, real strong. I guess this would land somewhere in the middle of what they feel they did for the second half of the year. And him picking up the driving duties, the car pretty decent tonight, but certainly not the top 5 runs that they had earlier in the year. But they will certainly look towards 2025 and hopefully have a more consistent year. I know that's what they're looking for in that team. Now, where are the Ripkema Modifieds? They're kind of on ice at this point. They haven't sold anything. Matter of fact, they made an offer to us if we wanted to buy one of them and start an announcers race team. So we quickly decided not to do that and let them keep their cars for another week.
Gee, and I was going to ask you what the name of it was going to be.
Ooh, of the car?
Oh, the race team.
Oh,
you think on it.
Oh,
we'll watch Bobby Labonte work to the inside of that 3 car. Labonte picks up another position that'll move him inside the top 10.
BMM, Big Mouth Motorsports. Let's go.
That's it. That'll be all over social media later today, that's for sure. They'll be like, you've got that one right.
Yes, Big Mouth Motorsports. We can make that happen. Just got to pay Whelen's chipping in a bunch of money next year. Let's do it.
We'll just have to put big mufflers on the engine so that way they're a little quieter.
Absolutely.
So people don't have to hear the yap of that motor as it runs around these racetracks. Labonte toward the end of this one, though, certainly making up some steam here as he tries to reel in the 24 of Andrew Kraus.
He has certainly found a way to close out these races. I think if Bobby Labonte races a little bit more with the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour next year, and let's hope he does. He's a driver that will run right around 9th or 10th, but you'll see him sneak a couple of positions right at the end. And that's a little different than what he experienced in 2023, where he was running in the top 5 primarily for the balance of the race, but with a slide back, I think of Wilkesboro in 2023, where he was trapped up on the high side after having a real solid run. And there's a guy that has obviously accomplished everything he has, but he's out here for the joy of it, for the competition of it as well. And, he always seems to have a bit of a, it wouldn't be a big wide smile because it's, he's not obviously having jubilant moments, but still it just seems to be at peace. And I love the peace that Bobby Labonte brings to his racing. That doesn't mean he lays down on the wheel or that he's mailing it in and he's just, making laps. He's just loving life at this point, and you gotta really appreciate someone at this level doing exactly what they're doing, still going fast in circles and just doing fun.
Enjoying driving a modified, and it's been fun to watch him be part of the Whelen Modified Tour over the past couple of seasons. Bobby Labonte trying to see if he gets one more spot over Andrew Krause. And Andrew Krause, over the last couple of seasons running part-time, has been so strong. This year in 24 has been a little up and down for them, but inside the top 10, trying to get their second top 10 of the season. Look at these cars, though, as they come up off the corner. Cars dancing sideways, but that car of the 51 of Justin Bonsignor, that car is stable. It is firmly planted underneath Justin Bonsignor, and he has got this race firmly in control. Leading the way, 25 laps to go, next time by with a 1.7-second advantage.
Saw his cousin Kyle making a move on Tyler Rivkin just a few laps ago, and now the screen pulls in on Bobby Labonte, who makes the move past Andrew Krause as they work their way down the back straightaway. But yeah, great battle with Kyle Bonsignor, and I said, all right, so Justin has the 3 championships. You've experienced a lot of success too with some wins and everything. How does the holiday situation work? You guys do Thanksgiving? Do you do Christmas? Well, they don't do Thanksgiving together, but Kyle and Justin bring up a rivalry during the Christmas season, and it has nothing to do with playing pass in the yard or anything. It has to do with racing. They break out NASCAR heat like it's 2003 all over again, and they channel themselves. So Kyle, I had to ask, which driver you go with? I got to go with Ricky Rudd. I usually go with Ricky Rudd. So then Justin usually goes with whoever's number 51 on the particular game that they're playing. So here's a good battle further on back. You have now Matt Hirschman closing in on Craig Lutz as we start to get a green flag run, a long green flag run with 22 laps to go. One must wonder if there's some late race heroics that gets someone crossed up and causes a Saturday night short track shootout under the lights here at Martinsville Speedway, which wasn't always the case. The lights are fairly recent, and it's been a great addition to this facility.
Yeah, it'd be fun to see Hirschman hounding the back bumper of Craig Lutz. This is a battle for the 3rd spot into turn 1. Hirschman to the inside. Lutz, who's had a great run here tonight, he'll slide back to 4th. You look at the stopwatch. Justin Bonsignor 0.2 of a second faster than anybody else on the racetrack. Austin Beer is sitting there in 2nd. Now Matt Hirschman 3rd. Bonsignor putting on a clinic, but still great racing action throughout the field here inside of 20 laps to go.
He could be the Whelen Modified Tour's Mr. October this year. Reggie Jackson, of course, the legendary Mr. October, but Justin laid it down at Thompson. He absolutely dominated at North Wilkesboro and has done the exact same thing here tonight, trying to three-peat, something that he hasn't done.
Let's go downstairs and let's hear what the story was with the 16 car. Let's go down to Jesse Punch.
Here with Phil Moran, crew chief on the 16 that has retired early behind the wall. Phil, what happened out there to this race car?
The motor started laying down, acting funny. I don't know if it was a fuel problem or what. We're trying to decipher and see what it was right now. But we gave it our best shot. Congrats to Justin. It's not over yet, but congrats to him. It's been a fun year with those guys. And can't thank Blue Mountain Machine and, it's been one of those years. So, we'll get him next year.
You had a chance to speak to your driver. What did he say getting out of the car?
Car was okay. Disappointed. Not much you can do about it. Came down here with a little different combination, trying something new. Just didn't work for us. So we'll get him next year.
Thanks, Phil. It's Phil Moran, crew chief on this 16, ending their day and their championship hopes early.
Thank you very much, Jesse. As the laps wind down, just 15 to go, and there you see Phil Moran with that big sigh, and it's not a sigh of relief, and it's a thought of what could have been. And what might be, though, for Justin Bonsignor as he pulls onto the inside. There, he gets ready to put down the 23 down the lap.
Look at the run that Justin Bonsignor has had to win potentially 3 races to run the table at the end of the season. They moved shots in the middle of the season. They moved from what a shop was in southern Connecticut down to North Carolina, and they all of a sudden built this car up. It was a car that they had in the past. They cut it all apart. The only thing that was the same on it was the center section of this race car. The rest of it entirely rebuilt, and that started their championship run at victory at Thompson, victory at North Wilkesboro, and on their way to a 3rd consecutive here at Martinsville. You look back at how it stacked up. They were 11 points behind heading into the race at Thompson at the end of October. Right now, 31 points to the good in this title run. Has gained almost 42 points in the final 3 races of the season to put himself back into position to be able to win the title. You talk about athletes, and they raise to the level of the competition. The playoffs in NASCAR, you see drivers just step it up to a new level. Justin Bonsignor and this team in the final 3 races of the season, they came to play. They wanted the championship. They're going to go out and get it here. They're 11 laps, make it 10 to go at the line from capturing that title here tonight in Martinsville, and they earned every bit of it the last 3 races of the season.
The record book will show if he's able to hang on here for the next 10 or so laps, Justin will have won the final 3 races, as we pointed out. But think of where they came from and how down they were. And I feel weird saying down. But when you talk about momentum between 2 titans like Justin Bonsignor and Ron Silk, it was completely advantage Silk throughout the month of August into September. And you mentioned that double-digit lead. And then it has to play into your head. Well, we moved the race team. Was that the mistake? Was that something that we shouldn't have done in the middle of the season? Is it going to cost us the championship? You know what? We can't worry about that. Let's work on this race car. Let's build it from the ground up and see what we got. And then the magic started to happen a couple of weeks ago. And then it carried over into North Wilkesboro. And, of course, tying Reggie Ruggiero for number 44 on the list. Or, excuse me, with 44 wins for second on the list. And he could go into elite company here tonight. Sole possession of second spot. As Matt Hirschman reels in Austin Beers off of turn number 4. This has been a good battle. It's now for spot number 2.
Yeah, Matt Hirschman trying to get that runner-up spot. He's done that before. He's had great results here at Martinsville, trying to get it one more time. Has always finished inside the top 4. He's 3rd right now. Can he get his neighbor on Bud Lane out there in Northampton, Pennsylvania in the final 5 laps to be able to get that runner-up spot here tonight? Matt Hirschman will end up with a solid run. He may just be 1 shy of the finish. And how about Jake Lutz in that 14 car? We hadn't talked about him at all tonight. He's running 4th. That young man has got a tremendous amount of talent. 25 years old. You always talk about these young drivers coming in and how'd you learn racetracks? Well, iRacing and this. He said, I don't do any iRacing stuff. I just watch YouTube videos. I learned how to run these races, and that's worked pretty well for me. Jake Lutz is an outstanding talent. He's fun to watch as Hirschman takes second.
It is an old school feel for a 25-year-old driver. He can just finally rent a car if he wants to when he goes to different places like that. But has like the old school look on the 14 too. It's just a clean looking race car, and I really like the vibe that he pulls off as he right now is in front of Austin Beers. Just made that move. Justin Bonsignor is just a couple of laps away from putting himself into yet even higher level of company. And we talk about drivers who accomplish a lot over the course of their career. And I pointed out some of the drivers that he's stacking against these days when it comes to all-time stats. And you don't really think about Justin competing as long as he has, but he is very deep in his career. And what you're seeing right now is a driver at the height of his powers with 3 straight wins if he can hang on in a couple of laps here. Now 4 championships since 2018.
A lap and a half to go for Justin Bonsignor. You go back to 2018 when he won his first. Many of the crew members, many of the team members that are on this 51 team are still with him today. That magic continues as he has 1 circuit left to go to etch his name deeper into the history of the Whelen Modified Tour. When he crosses the line, he'll have 45 career victories, take second place on the all-time win list of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. But more importantly, he will become a four-time Whelen Modified Tour champion, and Justin Bonsignore wins the title in 2024.
There is the team soaking in the moment. The camera is zoomed in, and the emotion will carry over into victory lane momentarily. And look at that team, as you say, Joe. They've been together. They've been through the ups and downs, more ups than downs. But the downs have really made them appreciate these ups.
For Justin Bonsignore, Ryan Stone, the crew chief, Ken Massa, the car owner, when the chips were down, they went all in. They bet on themselves with a newly built race car, that 51 car. They have carried it the last 3 races. You've heard the story told. Tonight, they become a champion again. His 3rd championship in 5 years. His 4th championship in 7 years. What a run for the driver out of Holtsville, New York. Justin Bonsignore is a Whelen Modified Tour champion for the 4th time in his career, and will take a victory lap here at Martinsville Speedway, where nearly 40 years ago, the first champion was crowned in 1985.
It was a 61 on that day, and now a 51. Etches his name into the record books as a 2024 champion. And you love soaking in these moments and being a part of them, whether you are here in person at Martinsville Speedway or you're watching at home on Flow Racing. Watching the Polish victory lap from Justin Bonsignore and talking to him earlier this afternoon on, you look at 2018 and you saw it on NASCAR.com of raising the trophy for the first time. And admittedly, a younger Justin. He certainly has aged quite well. He doesn't look his age, but certainly can look at some innocence within those pictures. And you can tell that the years have certainly worn on the 51 and the experience that goes into that driver, and he's certainly just continued to finesse himself.
Justin Bonsignore and this team, he and his wife Taylor discussed before this race, where are we going to put the grandfather clock? Well, now that question is answered. They will put it in their foyer or their house as they come in down in New York on Long Island. They are victorious. Not only the champion this year, but also the grandfather clock, the iconic clock that goes with the victory here at Martinsville, the Virginia's for Racing Lovers 200. What a day, what a moment for this team to be able to do what they have done over the past couple of races, to not just win the championship, to win it going away. A walk-off home run tonight for Justin Bonsignore as he gets the win in Martinsville.
A season-long championship. So they have been fighting since February for this to happen. This is the culmination of it. And ladies and gentlemen, this is excellence in real time. It's often not appreciated until 10, 15 years in the rearview mirror, and what you're watching unfold in front of your eyes on Flow Racing or here in person at Martinsville Speedway is someone, again, who is at the height of their powers. 4 championships, now 45 wins, and he is ready to celebrate. But what is he ready to celebrate more? The grandfather clock or the 4th championship? The scales are tough on that one.
It all comes together. It'll be a long victory celebration for Justin Bonsignore. They have paused his car down in turn 1 so they can set the stage up here on the front straightaway at Martinsville, where everybody will be stacked up to be able to celebrate. Let's take a look at how the rest of the championship battle played out. Ron Silk, even though he was retired midway through the race because of the motor problems, he will end up the runner-up in the championship chase. Patrick Emmerling will come home in 3rd. Bonsignore ends up with 4 wins on the season. Silk and Emmerling 3 apiece. And you know what? You can't say enough. The 16 team, they had a great start to the season. Certainly, as the season went on, the momentum shifted to both Patrick Emmerling and to Justin Bonsignore. But how about that one car? We didn't talk about it a ton tonight. Patrick Emmerling and that team, brand new team at the start of the season. There's a lot of excitement for that team as they roll forward. You go back to the race at Ridgeway Raceway earlier this season, and 1 pit road penalty that put him in a position to get involved with an incident, and that cost him a chance to be able to be more competitive here tonight for the title. Tonight belongs to Justin Bonsignore, though.
And you know that was going through his mind today. And I'm speaking of Patrick Everling because we did a little math on pit road. He said, no, I would be within 6 points of the point lead right now if that hadn't happened. And that was back in February that stayed right with it. And how about this presentation? And this is going to be an amazing moment. He's been here before, but talking to him earlier this afternoon, Justin says everyone feels a little different, and it's special for various reasons. It was special in 2018, it was special a couple of years ago, and now here in 2022.
Team all wrapping around Justin Bonsignore, that championship flag hanging out the side of the 51 car. And the effort, the team, the Ken Massa Motorsports number 51 pays off here tonight as they have silenced the doubters as the season went on that they could still go up there and snatch that championship away, and they have done just that here at this historic Martinsville Speedway, and he will celebrate and be able to provide commentary on the outstanding season that he has had. Here is Justin Bonsignore, the entire team, family on hand to be able to celebrate with him here at Victory Lane in Martinsville.
NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour champion Justin Bonsignore gets win number 4 of the season, earning his 4th series title, and of course, that coveted Martinsville grandfather clock. Justin, congratulations on the win, the championship. You were so confident coming into this race.
I can't wait to put that.
But crossing this start-finish line, finally knowing that you were the champion, how do you describe your emotions in that moment?
It's just a year of hard work and a lot of ups and downs, and middle of September wasn't looking good, and all of a sudden we got hot, and 3 in a row is something I've never done in my career, and to cap it off with a grandfather clock, it's just really, really awesome. And I got a lot of guys that have been with me for a really long time, and this is their 4th title just with us, and we got a lot of guys here tonight that they just won their first championship, and this is my first championship, and my son Evan will be here, and just want to thank Phoenix Communication, Mark Langevin, Marie Langevin, Megan Langevin for everything they've done over the last, over the last 8 years they've been with us, and it's just amazing. I want to thank Rob Cleary and his wife Laura of Clearcom IT Solutions, David Lewis of Robert Yates Racing Engines, Darius, Tony Uri Jr. at Fury Race Cars, Ken and Janine Massa is our 15th season together. They've changed my life on and off the racetrack. My parents, my brother Matt, the whole pit crew, they nailed it again tonight. Just these things are hard to win. I know people think that this stuff's easy, and it's not as hard as it used to be back in the day, but this stuff's still hard, and there's really good guys in this garage, and I'm just fortunate enough to win this one tonight.
Justin, the emotion in your voice is clearly there, and it's clear how much this team means to you and means to each other. You guys have been together for a very long time. These guys have been so confident in you these last couple weeks. To have a chance to stand up on this stage and be together as a team, as champions, what does that mean to you personally?
Yeah, we've watched other people celebrate 2 years in a row here, and we lost, and that's tough to watch back, and just a lot of hard work by Ryan Stone and Ken Massa to keep things going in the direction we want to go, and Ryan works really hard, and he gives, Ken lets him do whatever he needs to make these race cars as fast as they are, and this car came out at Thompson and won the last 3, so it's just really hard to put into words how special this stuff is, and you put a lot of hard work in from February to basically November, a lot of time, a lot of days away from home, a lot of traveling, and more than anything, this is probably the coolest thing ever right here. So,
first championship as a dad, and I'm understanding now that in addition to this addition to your family, you're taking home that beautiful grandfather clock. I've heard that you guys have discussed between the two of you where that's going to go. Can you give us some insight?
He might want it in his room. He'll get a couple hats tonight. He likes hats. Well, maybe the grandfather clock could stay by the front door. And make some noise, wake him up in the middle of the night. But this makes it all, worth it right here. When you get crashed and you don't finish some nights, to come home to him, it all makes it better. And this is also the first year we finished every single lap, and that's something we've been really proud of this year. So just want to thank Flow Sports, Flow Racing, NASCAR, everybody here at Martinsville for coming out, everybody that's a part of this series to make it go around, Whelen Engineering for everything they've done and everything they're reinvesting into the series for next year. I don't know. I'm ready to drink some beer.
Well, go drink that beer. You earned it. And hey, a Martinsville clock sounds like it would make a great addition to a nursery. But wherever it goes, it's going home with you, Justin. Congratulations on the win. Justin Bonsignor is your 2024 NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour champion.
Well, thank you, Jesse. The championship trophy will be presented here momentarily. We'll continue on with the Victory Lane and championship celebration. Big kiss from his wife, Taylor. Celebration as a family. The Bonsignors together for the first time, the three of them. And how about that shirt the little man has, that 51 on the back, as this will be a moment that they will cherish and remember for a very long time.
If you look at the 2018 championship hoist, Justin Bonsignor looks like a young, vibrant driver with his career ahead of him, and obviously, at 37, he's at the height of his powers, as I mentioned too. Sheer dominance here in the month of October. Racing's Mr. October, but dominance is something that is, I wouldn't say synonymous with the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, but it isn't unprecedented. We've had some other drivers that have really rattled off some championships here in the last 15 years. You have Doug Coby winning 4 championships in a row, then interrupted by Justin Bonsignor. Now, Coby could have actually won 6 in a row, except Justin interrupted him with his first in 2018. And now that puts him with 4, Doug with 6, Tony Hirschman with 5, I believe. And just, the creme de la creme right here on display, right on the front stretch of Martinsville for 2024.
The team behind him was so effective today on pit lane. They've been one of the best crews on pit road over that period of time. Ryan Stone, the man behind the scenes, you can't say enough about him. We talk a lot about the drivers, but the crew chief behind the scenes that make it work. Ryan Stone is one of the smartest guys in the garage. He spent time working the NASCAR Xfinity Series as well and working at that high level. Let's go down for the championship presentation.
That's what you were going to do. On behalf of the millions of NASCAR fans around the world, congratulations on your 4th NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour Championship.
You can stay. Jimmy will.
Joey Denowitz, the managing director of NASCAR Regional and the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, presenting the championship trophy from Whelen Engineering to Justin Bonsignor, as we documented, now a 4-time series champion. Opportunity for series director Jimmy Wilson to come in as well and take some more photos and enjoy the trophy celebration here tonight in Martinsville, standing with the backdrop of the grandfather clock right behind this track that has been just part of the fabric of NASCAR competition. You go back to 1947 when it was built, 1949 hosting NASCAR Cup Series races and modified racing throughout that period of time. And Justin Bonsignor now with his championship, also now 2nd on the all-time win list, and he eyes only Mike Stefanik with 74 victories ahead of him as series director Jimmy Wilson comes in, offers congratulations to the champ.
Absolutely, and there's a season-long body of work which culminates here tonight. Justin Bonsignor has won in the final race of the season. This is unprecedented for him to win the championship and win the final race of the year. That was back when it was in Sanford Springs, Connecticut, and there's the big handshake. I think, just watching the Victory Lane interview, the championship interview, this one hits different for Justin, and it has everything to do with the people who are to his left right now.
The run of the championship has been done before. Doug Coby back in 2015, a decade ago at this point, hard to believe, won the final 3 races of the season en route to one of his championships, 6 in total for Coby. Now Justin Bonsignor, that's another one that he'll have to try to target after to see whether or not he can get that. Next ahead of him, Tony Hirschman, who's a 5-time champion in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, and he's the next driver that he will look to tie in his storied career. That's Peter Tizzy stepping in, manager of motorsports for Whelen Engineering. And Peter's going to be around for a couple of years more with the extension that they will add into 2029. And the extra bonus money that will be put up from Whelen as they roll forward, 250% increase of the Whelen portion of the purse, $11,000 to win for any race winner, and to start the race, $2,000, which is certainly significant in modified racing, and a big investment and commitment, multi-year commitment that Whelen making to this series for many, many years to come through the 2029 season.
It's something special to bring a new sponsor in and have them put up a lot of money and have a lot of support, but it's another thing to have someone like Whelen, who 2 decades into a partnership has become synonymous with the premier modified division in the United States, to carry that even higher over the next 5 seasons. And it's going to be a very quick offseason, Joe Koss. I mean, we call it the offseason, and we're a regional tour, but yet in 105 days, we'll be firing things up in New Smyrna.
Not all that long from now. February 8th will be when that race gets up and running. We still have the grandfather clock to present here tonight while they take the photos with the champion, but we'll take a look at the schedules we've got next year. The series, again, will return to Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park. 3 races, the traditional ones that we've seen over the past couple of seasons. Icebreaker weekend, which is the end of March next season. We'll also see them race
breaking some ice.
No kidding. Traditional August event on the Wednesday night, mid-summer, and World Series weekend in late October. Monadnock Speedway returns with 2 dates next season. North Wilkesboro Speedway will be run in May 18th. That's a companion event, a Sunday afternoon that'll be run with the NASCAR Cup Series All-Star race. That'll be on the play as well. Seekonk Speedway is back. 2 for Riverhead Raceway. We'll update you more. First, let's go back downstairs to Victory Lane.
Justin, you had a perfect night. Wrapped up the Whelen Modified Championship. Congratulations on that. But now we get to something besides that, the grandfather clock. Again, congratulations on winning the Virginia's Racing Lovers 300. Awesome run. Congratulations on both that and the championship. What a super year. What a great competitor, and thanks for everything you do for NASCAR and the Whelen Modified Tour. Congratulations.
Martinsville Speedway President Clay Campbell offering the grandfather clock to Justin Bonsignor for his victory here tonight. Clay Campbell and that family has been part of the Martinsville tradition since it opened back in the 40s, and still a big part of NASCAR competition, presenting the grandfather clock to the race winner and champion, Justin Bonsignor. Just to put the period on the schedule as we look ahead to 2025, Andy, and I can't believe that we're saying that already. I mentioned Riverhead Raceway, a pair of events, 1 in June, 1 in September next season. White Mountain Motorsports Park returns to the competition in the month of June. We're back at Lancaster in July. We're back at Oswego in August, and Richmond Raceway in August as part of the NASCAR Cup Series weekend in New Hampshire Motor Speedway, with that weekend being moved to September and being part of the NASCAR playoffs in 2025. We'll have the modifieds there as well. A 16-race schedule spread out among the quarters of the season to be able to allow for travel to work more efficiently for these teams that many of them carry day jobs and race modifieds on the weekend. But a really nice package put together for 2025 with the expansion of Whelen Engineering and their investment in the sport of modified racing.
Yeah, I was talking with Jimmy Wilson earlier this afternoon, and I said, how long have you been working on this schedule? And it's kind of like planning a state fair. And I mean that in the sense, if you planned one before, you know how much goes into it. And he said it's been about 6 months of really hard work to get everything balanced out. And Joe, to your point, this isn't something where you can just throw a bunch of races and hope, the team's supported and everybody shows up. And, hitting 16 events is well, I mean, let's just be cheese and say it's Sweet 16. It really seems to be a great spot for this regional touring division, full of people who do this for the passion, for the glory, when they aren't feeding their families and when they're not putting food on the table. This is what they do and what they think about when they're out there doing their day jobs. These moments that Justin and his wife and his child and their entire team are experiencing right now.
We asked several of the teams and drivers, as it was announced earlier today, what they thought of the schedule for 2025. A lot of them said, it's nice because we can race, about 2 times a month. There's a couple of months where they race 3 times a month that allows us to do those things that, are outside of racing, allows us to balance that schedule, get our cars ready to be prepared a couple of weeks down the road to be able to tackle the next race and continue on through the tour. And so a lot of excitement, a lot of optimism, some new tracks on the tour, some different programs, and opportunity to be able to showcase these drivers in front of the NASCAR Cup Series teams now 3 times on the schedule throughout 2025 has them pretty excited.
When you throw in the returning event at White Mountain Motorsports Park, for those who haven't been there, it's a high bank quarter-mile track, much like Monadnock Speedway. So you think of the drivers who succeed greatly at Monadnock. You have Patrick Emmerling, who has won. Tyler Catalano won earlier this year. Jake Johnson won at that racetrack as well. So drivers who favor bull rings, I think, are really going to have a good season, as you have, you have the larger tracks like New Smyrna, you have New Hampshire Motor Speedway, you have, you also have Lancaster, and some of the bigger places, and look at that, just kissing the clock. Why not? Kiss the bricks, why not kiss the clock? The clock deserves some love too. But I think it's great to throw in just another bull ring that reinforces the heritage of the drivers who just slug it out every single week. And some good close quarter racing coming up to White Mountain later on next year.
Yeah, great little venue up there in New Hampshire. They opening up the champagne bottles down there. The celebration about really to take off here at Martinsville. Hey, just want to remind you, just a programming update. If you want to catch more NASCAR short track racing coming up later on tonight, ARCA West is racing at Kern County Raceway out in California, 11 p.m. tonight. As the champagne becomes uncorked, the celebration fully underway in Victory Lane at Martinsville for the champions. Well, Justin Bonsignor, Ken Massa Motorsports, Ryan Stone, and the entire team, they earned every bit of this title the last 3 races. They are the champions in 2024. It's been an outstanding season all year long. We saw talent like Trevor Catalano and the Catalano brothers step up in their program. We saw Ron Silk have a great season, and we saw a battle between the 51 and the 16 car all season long. What is next? What holds for the future of the modifieds in 2025? If it was anything like this season, it's bound to be outstanding with young talent on the horizon. In the end of the day, a battle between 2 veterans, Ron Silk and Justin Bonsignor. But at the end of tonight, it was a 4-time champion for Justin Bonsignor and a 45th career victory as he has won the 2024 NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour Championship.